Hi, welcome to another episode of Pet Pals. I'm Bethany Davidson, the Humane Educator here at Frederick County Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. Animal wrangling for us, as our usual, is our volunteer coordinator, Sean Snyder. And our first guest today is one of my favorites. He is one of our kittens. He's a little bit older at 5 months old, but he's been on the floor for a couple of weeks now and still nobody snatched him up. And so I wanted to give him the opportunity to show what an awesome cat he is. He's pretty much your typical kitten. He's super affectionate. He is perfectly content being held, and we held him for a long time at a radio spot the other day. Didn't try to get down, wasn't bothered by it. He's very playful. He's very curious. He just has like a really great personality. But because there are still a fair amount of kittens, and he is just, a brown tabby. He doesn't have any, different markings that make him spectacular, like, different colors of white, or like a lot of people have been liking the gray kittens of late, or, the orange tabbies that seem to always go very quickly. So he's fantastic. He definitely is a very resilient guy, very fun, and will be great for, families with kids of any age, and definitely probably with other animals too. He doesn't seem to have an issue on that front as far as we've seen.
So Oso's a little bit different than some of the other kittens, all the other kittens on the adoption floor. What makes him different?
So I don't know if people can see in the video, but Oso has an issue with his left front leg. He's been examined by 2 vets in our facility, and so the muscles on that leg are completely atrophied, meaning they're not functional. He has the carpal joint on that is also not working very well, but that may be one of the factors that's keeping him from finding a home, but it shouldn't be, because even though his leg is non-functional, he kind of drags it around a little bit. It doesn't stop him from doing anything. You can see he's climbing all over Sean. He walks around. I had him out the other day. He was trying to jump off the counter. So he doesn't know that he's any different, and it really doesn't affect him playing or being affectionate or anything in that regard. Right now we're saying no medical treatment, because he does drag it around sometimes. It's possible that he gets some scrapes on there. We were thinking about getting him a little sock just to kind of keep him from scraping up the fur and the skin on the front of his foot there, but definitely doesn't stop him. He uses it sometimes as balance, but he's not weight bearing on it, so it's not really anything that should keep people from considering making him part of the family. In time, I bet you he would be able to master steps, just like most 3-legged animals are able to adapt and be really comfortable, and really not have any limitations on their levels of activity and things like that. So if you are looking for a kitten and you want one that's a little extra special, then definitely consider stopping by, making that appointment and visiting with Oso. He's 5 months old and he can't wait to spend forever with another family. So go to visit fcac.as.me to book that appointment. Our next guest is another cat. We haven't been showcasing many cats because of our continued large dog population, but because it is Adopt a Senior Pet Month, I did want to showcase not only one of our kittens, but one of our older cats. Kiara is, as you can see, not super old. She's very agile and ready to go on a walkabout. But she's only 6 years old, which here we're still considering a senior. We start saying that animals are seniors and get adoption discounts at about 5 years old, because that's when we really start to see a drop off in interest. People tend to want those cats that are either kittens or, 1 to 3 years old tends to be the, I want something really young that's going to grow up with my family, those types of things. So even though she's really not that old in the larger scheme of things, she is an animal that would be less likely to be chosen than some of the younger guys. She's a little bit nervous here in this environment, but in her cage where she's starting to settle in, she's incredibly sweet. She's very affectionate. She loves to be petted. She, if you stop petting, she comes up and asks for more attention. And I can imagine in a household she would be, very social, but also, very curious and want to go off and do her own thing. Here we've noticed, she is pretty typical of a cat. She wants attention and then she doesn't. She's a good mix of hanging out with the family, but also not being, the Velcro cat. Some people like that, some people not so much. But I really have been enjoying getting to know her. People who visit her may notice that she does have some scabs on her skin, some places where they're thinning fur. She did come in with some dermatitis. That could be primarily we usually think of like a flea allergy, but it could have been environmental or any of those other things. She did get ringworm tested, and she got a little bit of a lime sulfur dip there just as a precaution, but she was cleared, and so now her skin is just kind of healing up. And she's, as Sean just mentioned, she's super soft, and she would just need to be on a flea preventative. A lot of people with indoor-only cats don't keep up with that, but because of potentially allergy issues, you want to make sure she's maintaining a flea preventative long-term.
So she lived with other pets in her previous home. What pets did she live with?
So she lived with 3 dogs, actually. So, we don't always know which cats are going to get along with dogs because we don't have a history, but she lived very successfully with 3 rather large pit bull type dogs. 2 of those dogs have already been adopted. Thor is still on our adoption floor. So that's something that she would be able to kind of, with a proper introduction, of course, live with, cope with, and not have an issue with. There were also a fair amount of children in that household as well, so she'd be fine with children of any age. If those are some of the things that you're looking for, you can make an appointment to visit with Kiara by going to visit fcac.as.me. We also want to remind all of our viewers that if you're still watching this in November, all of our senior pets that are going to be animals ages 5 and up, cats and dogs, will actually be going home for free in honor of Adopt a Senior Pet Month. The first dog that we have for you today is one of our younger dogs. This is Gunner, and he is a barrel of energy for sure, which is pretty common for a dog as young as he is. He's about 10 months old. Some would say puppy, others would say an adolescent dog. So he definitely has a lot of energy and still working on learning those manners. But because he enjoys a good snack, it's a little bit easier to do training when you have a food-motivated dog. And Gunner definitely, in my interactions, seems to be happy to take a treat. He actually takes the treats pretty nicely, and he does know sit. And as you can see, he does jump up. But what I've noticed about Gunner is when he does it, he's pretty gentle about it. It's more of an affectionate thing, and maybe a little bit of an impulse control thing. All stuff that's pretty easy to work on. And unfortunately, what a lot of people do is they like it when they're a dog. They're like, oh, he's giving me a hug. So then they continue to pet each time they jump up and kind of reinforce that. So we try to work on those things here. And then it's just going to be an option, for adopters, whether they want the hugs or they want their dogs to keep their feet on the ground. And Gunner, as you see, was interested in the toys there, so he does like to play. He's just, a pretty typical guy. He obviously needs to work on those manners. Doesn't seem to be bothered by the other dogs very much. He has a lot of potential. And he's a little bit of a smaller dog. He's under 50 pounds. He will fill out a little bit more, but he's not going to be a huge dog. So if that's something you're looking for, you like the idea of having a shepherd, but you don't want a really big one, this would be a good option. Now, on the other hand, if you do want the big, typical-looking German Shepherd, we do have Delgado, who is still on our adoption floor, who's more of that standard look for you. But, Gunner's very friendly. We do have him listed as, older children just because he can be a little bit mouthy. He's not a dog that seems to love pets right now. He gets a little overstimulated, aroused, and then he starts doing the mouthing of your hands and stuff like that. As we saw, he jumps up. So for those types of reasons, we're saying maybe kids that are a little bit older aren't going to be as easily knocked down, or going to maybe recognize when he's getting a little aroused and back off, just for the safety of everybody in the household. But those are just recommendations, not necessarily requirements. So if you have, a child in your house that's used to this type of activity with a dog, you don't care so much about it, you're like, oh, it's okay if they take a tumble every now and then that's totally fine. That's something that just making sure that the children and the animal meet and they feel comfortable is our main priority.
So Gunner's story, how he arrived at the shelter here, is a bit sad. Can you share that with us?
Sure. So, we'd like to take notes if we have information on, how they come in. And one of the ACOs, our animal control officers, went out and picked this guy up. And they wrote a note in our file saying that, sadly, he was just left tied to a fence in Ballinger Creek Park. We want people to understand, right now we do have appointments for owned animals. That's just to make sure that we have the space for your dog so that they're going to be coming into a better situation and that we're prepared to take them in. Give you a chance to really think about it, make sure that you're not impulsively making a decision that you then later regret. So those are the reasons that why we're having those appointments. But we do work with people. So letting us know your situation, we may be able to take your dog in sooner, things like that, so that they don't have to be left in out in the park and maybe potentially something bad happened to them. So definitely being very communicative with us, but also we can give you resources if you're really not wanting to let go of your pet. We can connect you with the Humane Society, who might have some resources for you, or our focus group, who might be able to help you so that you're able to keep your pet in your home. So definitely reach out via our phone or our email, which are going to be 301-600-1546, or animalcontrol@frederickcountymd.gov if you have any questions about those types of issues. And if you're interested in meeting with Gunner, you can book an appointment to meet him at visitfcac.as.me. Our next guest is another one of our younger dogs at about 8 to 10 months old. This is Julio, and he's definitely all puppy. He's got that energy. He is active, busy, into everything. Still really working on those manners. We talk about how Gunner's working on his manners, but Gunner's manners are a little bit better than Julio's. But he is, I can imagine he's going to be such a fun dog for somebody, especially if you have a big yard and you want him to run around and play. I saw him running around a little bit, and he was definitely all about the zoomies and the, let's play run and chase and let's do all of those types of things. He really seems to enjoy being outside. And he's got that cute little wiggle butt. You can tell he's like a super happy, guy. But definitely want to make sure that you're prepared for making sure that he gets all of the exercise and ways to kind of get rid of that energy that he has. Otherwise, I always say it's like little kids. When the kids are quiet, you're like, oh, something might be going on. Let me check in there. So you want to make sure that he definitely has things to keep him occupied. Here he hasn't seemed to have many issues with any of the dogs, doesn't seem to be bothered by them. I did notice the other day that Sable, who's going to be on the show later, he doesn't really love Sable. I think maybe it's because Sable's a real big guy and likes to kind of spy on his kennel, sticks his nose over the wall there and wants to see what's going on Julio's side. And Julio's like, nah, I want my privacy. Leave me alone there, bro. But he is, a dog that is very treat motivated. He does know sits, but he's still really working on that jumping up and stuff. But I think once he has an opportunity to get, a lot more exercise on a regular basis, I think you'll see a calmer side to him. In his kennel, he just sits there. He just kind of hangs out. So he is capable of calming down, enjoying pets and things like that. But he too can get a little playfully aroused.
So we've recommended that he can go to a family with kids of any age. However, families with younger kids might want to consider something. What's that?
Yeah, so just like we talked about with Gunner, he is a dog that is kind of like, he's kind of like a, I don't know what the correct football term is, but maybe like a linebacker just going to like bowl you over, right? So if you have, younger kids, you're concerned about getting knocked over. He is a smaller dog. He only weighs about 47 pounds. But he has a lower center of gravity too. So he can knock kids down. He jumps up, kids or older people in the households, being mindful of that, is that jumping up going to be okay or not okay? With the mouthiness and things as well, that we talked about with Gunner, just making sure that everybody's comfortable and safe, and really, establishing those good manners early on so that, he is going to be, seated and keep his feet on the floor, and know that he only puts his mouth on his toys and things like that. So just want all of the families to think about that, because we don't want any children to get bit. And we also obviously also don't want to see dogs getting brought back to us for those types of reasons. If you think that you are ready for all of this energy and you want to make Julio part of your family, go to visit fcac.as.me to book your appointment to meet him. Our next dog is Sable, and he is one of several you call it Nordic type breeds that we've had. We had Valen, who was like a little like Pomsky, and then we had the two Huskies, Mork and Nanu, and then Sable is our Malamute mix. He is about 1.5 years old, and he was microchipped, and that's how we knew that his name was Sable. But he did come to us as a stray, another dog who was, left out somewhere. Again, reminding people, letting us know your circumstances so that, you don't have to put your dogs at risk that way, so we can try to get them here sooner. He is a very, very friendly dog. He is a larger dog at 66 pounds, and he wants all of your attention. He is a complete and total violator of the space bubble protocol. Not only will he just lean into you like he was just doing with Sean, if you're standing, he'll jump up on you. Not rough, but just like, hey, give me a hug, let's cuddle, let's hang out, let's dance. He's very playful. He's very energetic. Doesn't seem to have an issue with the dogs. He's super nosy. He's like constantly looking in all the other dogs' kennels, seeing what's going on there. He can be a little, he loves attention. So if you're interacting with another dog and he can kind of see that, he's like, he vocalizes and lets you know that he thinks he should be having your attention. So keeping that in mind, if you live in an apartment, sometimes Sable can be a little loud. Making sure that that's going to be a good fit. You're not going to have any issues with your landlord on that front. But otherwise, a lot of our dogs are pullers, and Sable actually walks really nicely on a leash. He does know sit, and as you can see, he can occupy himself. He hasn't had any issues with the other dogs again, and just really enjoys, petting and affection. So he has a lot of really great qualities. If this is the type of dog that's going to be a good fit for your family.
So folks may be attracted to his good looks, but with any dog, people should consider the characteristics or the traits of a breed. So what are the things to consider with Sable?
So first and foremost, looking at his coat, I just mentioned to you, he needs a blowout. He's going to, need grooming maintenance. Any type of the Alaskan type dogs, lots of fur everywhere. So being prepared for that. Another thing that I think people don't really consider is that these dogs were built for cold weather. When it's freezing and you don't want to be outside, that's when this dog wants to be outside. When you're ready to go out in the summer and, hang out and, in the woods and go hiking and stuff, it's probably going to be a little too hot for this dog. So really thinking about, what seasons are your favorite seasons, and are you cool to go hiking in the winter and stay inside during the summer? Those are all things that you're going to need to think about in terms of their, what they like and what's comfortable and what's healthy for them. And then also, these guys were built to work. That's what they were bred for. And while most of them are companion dogs now, they do have a higher level of energy, and they're very smart and very busy. So making sure that you have a way to make sure that he's getting the exercise and mental stimulation that he needs, so that he can continue to be, a good, friendly dog and not get into trouble. He is, fairly treat motivated, and does have that basic kind of sit down. So, just working with him, making sure that you're motivating him for training so he has, polite manners when he's greeting new people. But overall, he's going to be a great dog for somebody. And I'm surprised that we haven't had any interest in him already, as he's already, made his way to our various social media platforms. And he's got a great smile too, which is an added benefit and bonus there. If you think Sable is the dog that you've been waiting for, you can go to visit fcac.as.me to make that appointment to meet him. It's a 2-for-1 at the last segment of the day. These guys are two of our adult dogs. They are, I think, really one of the only hounds that we have right now. We don't have a ton of hounds right now. And they are Buzz and Woody. And the way that we tell them apart is Buzz is lighter, Buzz Lightyear, right? And then Woody is more the color of wood. So it makes it easy to remember. They're both about 2 years old. They are brothers. You know, we have been kind of piecing, they came in as strays, but we've kind of been piecing together their story. They were microchipped, and I think they came from an organization where they named the puppies after the mom. So they were Ezra 1 and Ezra 2. But then we were able to get some more information about people who had owned them previously and learn that their names are, in fact, Buzz and Woody now. They are a rarity in the shelter because they are dogs that are housed together. So they live together in their kennel, and they don't have any issues with other dogs. You know, we don't even have, a lot of times we'll have a sign that says separate for feeding and things like that. And these guys don't even have that. So, you know, they don't have that resource guarding issue or anything like that. And they both know sit. In terms of their personality, Buzz is definitely the more outgoing. He always has a smile on his face. He's the puller of the two as well. And then Woody is a little bit shyer, a little bit more reserved. He kind of gives you the blue steel, if you will, when he's taking his picture. But they're both super treat motivated. When I was in their kennel taking their pictures, they knew I had treats, and so they just kept sitting together right in front of me. I couldn't get them separate to take pictures of them individually because they both knew I had a treat, and they were like, I have to be right where the treat is. They do definitely seem to enjoy each other's company. And they definitely would love to have, you know, other dogs in their life for sure. They enjoy petting. They do get a little excited, but they never really jumped up on me. Sometimes I think they rush the kennel. They're excited to go outside. So just being mindful of that with, you know, opening doors for them to go outside, that they might not be as patient about that. But all in all, they seem to be very, you know, affectionate, playful, fun dogs that would be great for any family. And they are listed for children of any age.
And as you mentioned, they came in together. We currently have them housed together. However, we don't necessarily have them listed as a bonded pair. So what's that mean, and can they be adopted together?
So yeah, they can definitely be adopted together. You know, typically what we're talking about when we're saying two dogs, we don't like to adopt out two dogs at a time unless they're a bonded pair, is people picking and choosing dogs that are not known to each other, because that can often lead to a situation where one of the dogs gets returned because they're not used to living with each other. Recently, we had 3 dogs that came in together, Zeus, Tyson, and Thor, and Zeus and Tyson were actually adopted together because they've lived together before. They're known to each other. So these guys could definitely be adopted together. And as I mentioned, they really do seem to enjoy each other's company. They stick pretty close together. They're not as codependent as some of the bonded pairs that we've had, but they would probably like to continue staying together. They've been together their entire lives. So we do have them, I think, listed on their paperwork as better together, but they could be adopted individually or together. So that's something to think about if you were like, oh, I'd love to have 2 dogs. And you worry about, are they going to get along? These guys already do. So that would be a great option for somebody looking for that type of pet situation. If you want to meet these guys or just one of these guys, the first step is obviously going to be to go to visit fcac.as.me to book an appointment. You can also find downloadable applications for all of our cats, dogs, and small animals there as well. We hope you enjoyed meeting some of these guys and that you'll tune in for our next episode.